Okay, so hey guys and welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Lima versus Singh fight. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so, like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So going into this fight, Lima is 12-1 with 9 KOs and Singh is 19-0 with 8 KOs. This fight is for the vacant IBO World Super Welterweight title. Lima's last fight was a win via stoppage in round 10 versus Mater Vosian, and Singh's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Miacic. Lima's loss came via unanimous decision versus McKenna in 2023, and Lima is a southpaw, whilst Singh is a bit of a switch hitter, but mainly is an orthodox fighter. And so speaking a bit more about what I've just been saying, like I say, this is for that vacant IBO title. To be honest, it was a bit of a surprise to see that this fight was even announced for a title. It was even announced in general. I mean, Lima, I thought that he was, boxing on matchroom cards now and things like that. And, he was meant to be fighting Ismail Davis. Perhaps him now fighting for an IBO title, I don't blame him for taking that as an opportunity. And, Ismail Davis went and took that other opportunity of fighting Josh Kelly. And, it meant that Lima was still on the undercard of Prograis Catterall, but obviously he didn't want to be on that. I suppose he wanted to be on a bigger slot where he, of course, like I say, was fighting for an IBO title. Perhaps when you look at, he was obviously meant to fight Ishmael Davis. Perhaps him then going on to fight for an IBO world title does suggest a level of an IBO title. It's not one of the majoring, not from one of the majoring sanctioning bodies, and it's not a kind of a big title realistically. So perhaps this has shown, the level in which it is. We've just seen, like I say, Davis lose to Kelly, and he's in talks to fight for, I believe, the English versus Bostan. And so, like I say, it's just interesting me to see the level, and I'm sure this is going to be a good fight. It's a good dust up. Like I say, it's unexpected. Lima fighting in another country. He's kind of fought all over, to be honest. I mean, he's had a bit of history fighting in the UK. Not typically always as an away fighter. When he fought McKenna, he was an away fighter, and it was a good fight, but he wasn't able to keep up with McKenna. And before that, he had a few fights where he was the home fighter in England, and he was having quite a lot of success, to be honest. But like I say, now he's representing uh, Angola and Portugal, and is fighting on this big test. And I think in general, he's willing to take all tests. Uh, that's been shown. His last performance was an upset win, and it was a big upset win against an unbeaten opponent. And he's still definitely confident. I think Singh's very confident as well. I think it's two confident fighters, and just going in for a big, dust up. And a question which kind of raised to me in my head, which I just wanted to kind of ask, get your thoughts in the comments below, and my opinion on it. So I suppose, would you rather that kind of a lesser record against better opponents where perhaps you have suffered a defeat or two, but like I say, you've fought lesser opponents and perhaps opportunities are tough for you, or would you rather have that bit more of a padded record that looks nicer, that's unbeaten, that's sharper, and you get one big opportunity a bit further along down the line, waiting a bit longer? I don't know. For me personally, I always want to see the toughest test for everybody, and I respect Lima for taking that at pretty much all opportunities. And representing Angola and Portugal, there's not too many big names that boxing wise come out of there, and so Lima, I'm sure, like I say, was with limited opportunities, and this is probably a very incredible thing for him to be able to make it to this point in his career. And so, like I said, that was just a question in which I was asking, realistically, when you look at it, Singh has got that nicer, cleaner record, but he's fought a lot lesser. And, like I said, I just kind of find that interesting. And, like I say, Lima, uh, he's confident. They're both confident. Lima, is he even with a promoter still? I don't know. I remember when he was calling out all the promoters, all their names. It seems like perhaps Matchroom were willing to give him a chance, but not actually sign him. Seems like I say, he's kind of moved away from that and gone to this Canadian boxing event. And Singh has always represented Canada. He's an Indian boxer. Indian boxing is, again, something that's not really had too much attention. I mean, we've seen Niraj Goyat fight on that MVP card and beats Winston Nunes, but like I say, that's not really a proper kind of boxing fight, and it's not really a proper big boxing name. Like, he's got a lot of followers, but he's not actually going to be a world champion. I don't believe, or anything like that. And so, Singh perhaps could be the best option coming out of India for a boxing world champion, but he's always represented Canada. A lot of quite big names are representing Canada at the moment. I mean, realistically, there's a big, two in the super middleweight division when you look at Iglesias and Mbili as well. But there's other fighters as well. You have Beterbiev who's representing them, and like I say, there's been multiple different fighters, especially at the moment, who are representing Canada, and Canada have been putting on good boxing events as of recent as well. I think due to all these fighters wanting to be representing them. They've been putting on good fights and good tests, and Singh is a good talent coming out of there, and I think he could be, a good fighter if he progresses on, and if he's able to beat Lima. Lima, like I say, that they're both coming off good performances. Lima coming off that stoppage win, of course, is always good. That loss versus McKenna was a respect for him for taking that in that point in his career, and it was a tough test, but he is a tricky southpaw, and he does land his nice left hook nicely. And like I say, Singh does attempt to try and switch between the two, but I just don't think he always has quite as much success when he is doing so. Also on this card, I believe perhaps the main event, I'm not too sure, is Bailey versus Ortiz for the WBA World Light Flyweight title, in which I think Bailey's going to win by unanimous decision. I really like Bailey as a fighter, or Hagigat Zhu, depending on how you want to pronounce it. It's somebody in which I've had the privilege of interviewing and speaking to on this channel, and like I say, she's seemingly a very talented, well, in my opinion, very talented Canadian boxer coming up. She's already a world champion after just 4 fights. She's had, a great amateur background, so it's no real surprise in which she's been progressing the way in which she has been. But this is going to be a tough test for her. Ortiz has only ever lost at a high level. She bought the fight versus Valle in her last loss, and didn't look bad at all. And Valle is, a cemented world champion now, and only just lost versus Estrada, and Ortiz, gave a good effort versus Estrada as well. And like I said, I think Bailey's going to win by unanimous decision. Ortiz does like a good scrap and was able to have a bit of success when she did fight Valle, and it was a bit of a swinging contest, and Valle was being able to have just them faster hands and them faster combinations in which she's often able to do. But Bailey, I think she's a much more conditioned boxer. She's got a very good jab and is able to keep things at mid range. And I think Ortiz is just going to swing from from very far out if it is kept at a mid range. And so yeah, like I say, I think Bailey is going to win via unanimous decision and carry on. And there are some world champions in the women's divisions at the moment in which I think are there for the taking, and Bailey in the light flyweight division might be able to pick up a few of them. I think maybe a little bit further along down the line, I would love to see her versus a Kim Clavel. Obviously, Clavel is a Canadian fighter as well, and she's lost at some of the higher levels, but still, I believe her record's like 20-2, and I think that could be a great contest as well. But perhaps a couple more fights before we see that. I'm not too sure. But like I say, I think Bailey's going to win via unanimous decision. Going back to the main event though, Lima as a fighter, he's an enclosed physical type fighter and kind of wants to be on your chest, pushing you back a lot of the time, and that's where he's had a lot of his success in the past. He doesn't really let you get too much range, and a lot often is continuous pressure and coming forwards and trying to work the openings on the inside as well, and he'll kind of punch all over combinations all over you, and he's got them stronger combinations as well. He definitely has a higher level of power in my opinion than that of Singh, and like I say, he's got them combinations in which he's going to throw everywhere and damage you everywhere. He sets a pace and is good at setting a pace, and also will disrupt that pace as well. Sometimes he can be slower with the pace, but then sometimes he can speed it up and carry, suddenly go for a flurry, similar to that of Singh. But I think Singh perhaps will fight at a bit of a slower pace. He can get his left through, like I say, that left kind of hook, that left straight, that left overhand, the sneaky left in which Singh has as being a southpaw. I mean, Lima has as being a southpaw. I think is something in which he lands very well, and I don't know if Singh's actually had to deal with that too much in his professional career. I think, like I say, I think this is a step up for Singh, but I'm not too sure if this is a step up in opponent for Lima. He doesn't allow the distance. Like I say, he moves around his shots nicely. If he is on the back foot, he'll kind of punch in and move around his shots not too badly. He's willing to dig deep. He's shown that in the past. Like I say, even the loss versus McKenna, he did show that he was able to dig deep, and he was getting tired. He was slowing down, and things were getting tough for him. But he was able to dig deep. He always has his moments in fights. I think that's something in which is bound to happen when you see that kind of pressure fighter. They often will have their moments at certain points. He drags you into deep waters quite often. Like I say, if it goes into later rounds versus him, he's probably going to drag you into deep waters. And if he's tired, you'll probably be quite tired as well. And he's got good, like I say, strong combinations. Negatives about him, I think perhaps he ties up too much. This is sometimes what you see when you see a fighter who does want to be kind of on your chest and really in close. They're going to tie up quite a lot, and it's not always the nicest to see. Refs can give points away. Like I say, it can show weakness. It can show to the judges that you're struggling to keep the pace a bit. And like I say, I think he does tie up a bit too much. He can be kept at a jab at points as well. Singh's jab is good, and if he's able to utilize it, he could perhaps keep Lima there at times. He's got limited ways of getting in. He's not really going to use his jab too much, and he's not going to, be creative with the pivots or anything like that in the way that he gets in. So a lot of the time he is, going to just be walking you down, and so like I say, it is limited ways in which he's getting in. He's got a lack of a jab, and sometimes when he does throw his jab, it's often quite too far out as well. It was always just a bit too far out of range a lot of the time with his jab. I think he admires his work as well. When he lands a nice shot, I think he will stay in range a bit too long and kind of admire it and see the damage it causes. And with somebody like Singh, who has got fast hands and is willing to go for counters, I think Singh could possibly counter him with that. He drops his guard. He leans in with limited shots. He will lean in and then just throw a couple shots, and then it will be that he's already lent in, and you can counter off of that. He squares up. He doesn't always land counters. He goes for counters, but he isn't always able to actually land them. He can be a bit lazy when he's stepping in at times and just trying to, come forward, like I say, without too much variation. And just when he ties, when he slows down into the later rounds, he can look quite lazy doing it and can overcommit a bit. Uh, and he can be caught coming in at the same time. To speak about Singh as a fighter, though, he's fast. That's something in which is obvious in a lot of his things. He's very kind of fast. He moves well. He's quite a clean, sharp boxer in which it's nice on the eye, and he's technical, and it shows that he can fight with quite a high IQ, and he's picking his shots relatively nicely. It is quite a slow pace, and he is being patient, and perhaps being too patient. Lima might be able to capitalise upon that, but like I say, Singh does move well, so it's going to be difficult for Lima to be able to slow down Singh. He changes tempo himself. He is, often quite slow, but he is able to up the pace, have his flurries, have his success at times. He can fight on the front foot or the back foot. Perhaps, like I say, better on the back foot than that of Lima. I think he's probably going to be willing to be on the back foot. I think Lima, with that pressure, is going to accept being on the front foot and try and push Singh back. But Singh, like I say, is probably going to continually move around on the back foot, and I think he is going to be comfortable doing that. And I think in general, he is comfortable when he is fighting. He works angles nicely, he counters well. I think he's got relatively good punch variety, perhaps better than that of Lima. He doesn't stay on the ropes too long, and so perhaps Lima might get, like I say, might blow himself out or get frustrated if he can't pin him down. And Singh feints well, and he's a rhythm fighter when he is, and if when he is in his rhythm, that's where he has his most success. And like I say, he kind of resets well and is willing to slow things down, reset, go back to the center, and then carry on again from there. Negatives about him, obviously, like I say, I think he's a slow starter. Lima could definitely put it on him early and perhaps shock him, get him out of there early. You see a lot of boxers get dropped early, very early, because it's like a very flash knockdown, and they're not, warmed up, they're not prepared to be able to take shots. And perhaps Lima might be able to put it on him early. The He leans back and he leans on off his feet in close. He looks like he can go a bit off balance. He kind of waddles off to the side if he is in close a bit. I think he's less physical out of the two. I think he's got a low guard. I think he can stay too far out as well with his jab. And like I say, it's nice defensive movements. But if he's staying too far out and not being able to capitalize with the counters, then he's just not really doing too much. It's just pure defensive movement to that point. he can be beaten to the punch, like I say, just waiting far too long. And I think he is, like I say, a very technically gifted boxer, defensively gifted boxer. But if he's just waiting too long, then you can just see him get beaten to the punch continuously, even if the nicer work is coming from him. If the judges want point scoring shots and more pressure and more continuous kind of punches, then you'll get that from Lima. He can lunge in at times with his jab, trying to force his jab, lunging in, and perhaps Lima might be able to counter him on that aspect. I think he can be frustrated, Singh. He loads up a bit. He doesn't really land big too much, so I don't think Singh's going to have to worry about big shots too much, in my opinion, landing on him. I think he's very wide with his hooks when he does do so, and he can drop you, and I've seen him drop fighters, but it is, you know, the one odd singular shot in which can do it. He's not got the best body work. I don't think he goes down there that well. I think Singh, when he does go to the body, is much better. I think he struggles to keep you off, and Lima, I mean, when Lima goes to the body, is better. Lima will come forwards, and if Singh is not going to be able to keep him off, then he's going to have to be moving on his bike for a lot of the fight. He, like I say, switches stances, and when he does, I think it's a bit too slow when he's doing it, and I think he can get caught when he's doing it because he is putting himself in more vulnerable positions by doing so. A lot of fighters attempt to switch stance and things like that, but you can put yourself in bad positions doing that. And like I say, in general, I think he is too defensive. Singh is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Lima will win via TKO in round 6. Like I say, I don't think Singh's faced anybody like Lima before. I think Lima's going to come with a continuous pressure. I think Singh's singular jabs, or they might be fast, they might be clean, they might be able to land, but I think Lima's just going to be able to walk straight through them. If Lima is able to slow down Singh, and Singh isn't able to just continuously move for that throughout the whole fight, I think Lima's going to be able to walk him down and stop him. I don't think Lima's going to react to the feints of Singh. I don't think he's going to care about the kind of clean, like fancy boxing in which he's going to offer. And like I say, I think he's going to win via TKO in round 6. Then we could go on to fight next. I mean, of course, he was meant to fight Ismail Davis on that matchroom card. Perhaps that could still be an option. Ismail, like I say, is in talks to fight Bostan, so perhaps they're in talks and things like that. That might not happen. I'm not too sure, but like I say, that perhaps is the level. Nikita Tszyu versus Lima could be a good fight. As Lima is wanting to go all the way to Australia for a fight, and perhaps that could happen. Nikita is progressing very well, and that could be a good ranking fight. Perhaps they will put the IBU title on the line for that one. Or Katsurakis, who just won the OTX tournament, so that could be a good fight to make. He's a bit, further along in his career, but he hasn't had loads of options, and again, might be willing to fight for an IBO title. And it wouldn't surprise me if OTX are willing to put on like an IBO type of bout to be able to get their first men's world champion. But like I say, there are different options available for Lima. Not too sure kind of whether IBO really ranks in the rankings in general. I would like to see that as a kind of thing to say, like, if you win the IBO title, you'll be ranked 15th in the WBA or 10th in the WBA or something like that. Do you know what I mean? But of course, we just don't really see that. But yeah, that is it for today's video. I hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did, need like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.